The whole the fantasy land, we are immersing the guests in a new way with technology and a new level of storytelling. And Little Mermaid attraction, you approach the Eric's Castle at the beginning of the show, and you progress through the seaside bluffs around Eric's Castle like in the classic film. It's all based on, we meticulously recreated the castle from the film. As you progress through, you go into a series of tide pools where you meet these crab characters that you play an interactive game with them to help Scuttle and Ariel collect some of the things that are washed up in the tide pools, and gadgets and gizmos for Ariel and Scuttle. And then you meet Scuttle as you go through, and then progress through underneath Eric's Castle, eventually going on to the ride, which is a classic musical rendition of the Little Mermaid classic story.
In general, we've already talked a little bit about tablets, but how has advances in technology allowed you guys to think things and then bring it through to creation?
Well, the technology allows us to have a lot of the interactive elements that we're working on respond and react to guests much quicker, much more believable. When we're telling stories and creating characters, for instance in Mermaid, where we have these crab characters, they respond to you immediately, and that's because of the technology surrounding you that is watching you and what you're viewing in each case as you go through the queue. What elements that you discover that the crabs are bringing in and putting into the different groupings, and then ultimately when you meet Scuttle, he recognizes you because it's monitored where you are in the queue, and ultimately he knows what you've seen in the queue and responds to you in that way.
What influence do you think that a lot of the kids coming into these attractions today that grow up with the iPads and video games and all these types of interactivity, how does that push you guys creatively to try to have more interaction when it comes to building new rides?
Well, that's a great question because we're constantly looking at that, and I think to keep things relevant in our parks, we're continuing to evolve technology and find new ways to integrate it into our storytelling. And the more seamlessly, the better, but that we are always looking at all the different elements around us and trying to tie in storytelling in a whole new level than we've ever been able to before. By people having all these onboard devices with them allows us to get into, depending on how far you want to go into certain stories, it allows us to get even deeper and deeper and create all new avenues in our storytelling, so which are really great.